and welcome to the Build and Exit podcast. I'm Julie Wilkerson and I'm your host. I'm the owner and founder of Wilkerson Accounting Solutions, and I started the podcast off the back of the work we do in mergers and acquisitions because I found there was a lot of knowledge we can share with our listeners to help them know key things to maximise their wealth and exit and things to consider if they're buying businesses. So I'm really excited today to have Geoff Ramm with me. Hi, Geoff.
Hi, Julie. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you. I'm actually really excited about this. So I met Geoff recently. He actually went to Paul Avin's Scale Up Summit event, which was brilliant, by the way, 2-day event, really good. And I touched base with him afterwards because I really felt he had a topic a lot of people don't think about. And sometimes it's hard to quantify it sometimes in terms of how it would build in an exit and acquisitions. But I think when you hear the story of what he actually delivers to people, you'll see, I think it will give a lot of good information to the listeners. So just a bit of background about Geoff and why I got him to come on. So he's described by Forbes as a game changer. He's a creator and author of something called Celebrity Service, which we're going to go a bit more into. And I really liked it because I heard it all at the presentation at the Scale Up Summit, and it's really interesting. He's actually inspired and worked in 50 countries, and he's worked with lots of clients, but also some sort of larger clients, including Emirates and Warner Brothers. So he's got a lot of experience, especially working with large teams and sort of how to influence and inspire and motivate teams. So that's something we're going to go into today. So first of all, Geoff, I just want to thank you for coming on and hand over to you, really, and give an intro and why you wanted to come on the podcast.
My pleasure. Great to see you, Julie. And hello, everybody listening and watching in. We met just a few months ago, wasn't it, at Paul Avin's wonderful conference, the Scale Up Summit. And I was one of the first speakers on day one. And I suppose for the podcast, I'll almost start with how I started back to the keynote. So I walked on stage. My first words that I very delicately mentioned, I said, on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is abysmal, but 10 is incredible. And of course, everybody's going, oh my God, he's given us a question already. I said, look, where 1 is abysmal, but 10 is just incredible. What number would you give yourself right now for the levels of service and experience you're giving every one of your colleagues, but every one of your customers, clients, passengers, members, guests? Okay. And as you remember, Julie, I give everybody sort of 3 or 4 seconds to think of a number. There was no 1s, 2s, or 3s, because if it's a 2, I'll say, that's a P45. There was a couple of 5s, a couple of 6s. There was a couple of 10s. There was 1 or 2 9s. But the vast majority of people in every audience and every team that I work with, it's a 7 or an 8. Okay, now in 50 countries, working with 50, 60 conferences a year over the last 22 years, I know it's going to be a 7 or 8. Now that's quite high. People say, "No, Geoff, we're a 7 or an 8. We're not the greatest. We're certainly not the worst, but we're pretty good." And I'll say, "Brilliant, 7 or 8, great." And I ask the question, what will it take you to go an extra 1? What will it take you to go for a 7 or an 8, an 8 or 9, a 9 to 10? What's it going to take? And I said, it's not going to take what you've learned and read before. Everybody talks about going the extra mile, exceeding expectations. It's the same old. So many, many years ago, I'm talking, 21 years ago, I came up with this brand. Okay, so I speak on customer service, and I came up with this brand, and it's a question that I asked the audience, and I turned to you all on that day, and I said, "What sort of service would you deliver if a celebrity were to walk through your doors today?" And of course, everybody's got that sort of, what does he mean? And I said, not just a normal celebrity, like somebody from I'm a Celebrity. I'm talking about an A-list Hollywood, Bollywood, musical icon superstar. And of course, when we shout out the names and we have a bit of interaction with the audience, you get the names of George, Brad, Angelina, Julia Roberts, Denzel Washington, that sort of name. So I'll say, right, okay, Denzel Washington picks up the phone, wants a quote, wants to come and see your premises, wants to come and buy from you. What service does Denzel receive compared to Geoff or Julie? And you can see these little light bulb moments, Julie, in the audience going, oh. And now there's always one or two people that say, oh, no, Geoff, we treat everybody the same. And I will politely say, shut up. You wouldn't. Because you would have a car park space just for them. If you knew they were coming, you would get the better biscuits out. You would make sure that the coffee is all, the desk has never been cleaner. Your shoes have never been shinier. Your smile has never been widened. To the extent of if a celebrity were to walk in through your doors to become your next customer client, what would be the difference in service? So I quickly go back to stage and I say, right, you're delivering 7 or 8, and I put my hand up, around to my brow, and then I put my other hand up and I just slightly raise it and I say, that's the gap. If Angelina Jolie, Brad Pitt, Taylor Swift were to tweet, email, walk through your door, become your next client, the difference in service that you would give them is different to what you're currently giving. That is the gap that if you can fill, there's not a competitor in your environment, in your sector, can touch you for the levels of service and experience you could give.
And I was there, and I remember when you asked the question, and I think my thoughts on it are, it's not so much I think people treat different people differently, because I understand what they mean by that. I suppose what would happen is the excitement, maybe there's more excitement, and then I suppose what we're saying is, okay, so if you'll have that excitement for that celebrity, why do you not have that excitement for every customer? And I think that's the underlying thing on it, isn't it? Is it'd be the excitement probably that would like make you should be like, oh my God, I'm going to meet my icon sort of thing, and you'd be excited. And now you've got to think, do I not see that in everybody?
Exactly. Do you know what? Your mind, and I talk about this, it's a mindset shift in your mind. So what else could I do? If let's go back to Brad Pitt, right? Brad Pitt buys 100 widgets from your factory, and you've got them in a box ready to go. Do you put a little compliment slip note or a little card inside, and do you actually say, hi Brad, so glad, it'd be lovely to, and what we've done is we've actually put in a brand new, you might have put something else in the box as a little sort of thank you for choosing us. But you might have just handwritten a note or a card in that box. The invoice that you send is a normal cut and paste invoice that you get from Xero or Sage. What I'm saying is there are so many touch points from the moment of contact to the moment of delivery. There's hundreds. And excitement is a key one, which we'll come on to. But at what point can you make that service experience greater than what it currently is? And that's the thing. And it's we all treat people hopefully well and good and smile and pleasant, and not all of the time. But the celebrity service, which is my brand, which is my topic, which is the books, the celebrity service is something that when I'm working with teams, when I'm working with entrepreneurs, when I'm working with larger organizations, it's something very, very simple, Julie, to understand, to connect with. And people have said to me over the years, Geoff, this is so easy. And I say, yeah, I can make it harder, but there's no point. Why make it? Yeah, me. But it's those little moments. What would I say? And look, put it this way, Julie. Okay, you've got 5 proposals. You've had 5 people come in over the next 24 hours. You're going to put proposals out there. I bet you Denzel Washington's number 1. I bet his gets done first. Gets to the front of the pile. And I bet, and it's the email back, isn't it? It's the words that we choose to use. We use a cut and paste method of thank you very much for contacting Julie Wilkinson. We're delighted about it, and we'll be looking forward to it. And you would stop it. You wouldn't send that email. You would spend an extra 2 or 3 minutes on that evening just putting a few Julie words in there from the heart, rather than from a system that you press a button for every customer. And that's essentially the difference. You are delivering a good service. Everybody on this podcast now, listening to this podcast, they might be thinking, yeah, we're pretty good. But if you stop for one moment and think, if my favorite celeb were to connect with me, were to become our next customer, what would we do? And that's the gap.
Yeah, no, and it's interesting, isn't it? Because we were talking about this before about, the goodwill in businesses of customer services. I mean, ultimately, sometimes, it can be hard to quantify the customer service element because obviously the worst case is customers will leave. But then you have sort of referrals and then retention and value lifetime of customers, and this then comes down to, I suppose, cost of effort and versus the rewards you're getting from the customers. And how do you think staff play a part in? Because obviously, a lot of people buying and selling businesses will have a lot of staff at that point. And, there's one thing, you start as you as the owner, and then you build up to having staff. I suppose in the end, you want everybody to be working, consistently. And I suppose everybody might have a touch point to the customer somewhere, even if they're not directly talking to them. So how do you think staff come into the equation with this customer service? Like what should people be thinking about?
It's okay. So how long this might be the first Julie's 7-hour podcast, right? We're going to go on through to the night. Well, here we go. Where do we start? The staff, your team are absolutely critical in this process. Really critical. One, they're full of ideas, but you need to take them on this journey with you. Okay, we've got a great product. You've got a great service. You're delivering. You've got your target market. You've got your marketing. You've got your leadership teams. And we all know customer service is critical to this because we need to retain good staff. We need to retain customers. But because we're going to deliver a greater experience, there's a greater chance of people switching their current suppliers to you, okay? Because they will come to you for service experience that they don't get anywhere else. But that piece, that motivation of staff, that bringing them on a journey, and I always talk about services. We're right in the middle of the Olympics, right? So let's go for this one, okay? It's kind of the fourth place. They did really well, and we know it's important in fourth place, and you really took part. But I always personally believe, this is a personal belief, that it's never in the gold, silver, bronze of importance to many managers, it's important, but not as important as sales, not as important as leadership and okay. And I say this because when was the last time your team had a purely customer service meeting? You had a day, or you had an hour, and you dedicate. And I talk about dedicating time. This is what it really boils down to. We all have management meetings. We all have sales meetings. And do you know where customer service will go? Any other business. They'll go in sort of so we've got to dedicate the time. And I'll say this to teams. Give yourself 15 minutes a week. That's it. Concentrate on clients you've got, what you could do, what else you could do. Get your team together, inspire the team, because the team have to follow you, and it can't just be, and we can't wait for 2 months' time for customer service week. There are 52 weeks in the year. Don't just think it's 1 week. Concentrate on the 51 weeks. Forget customer service week. That's my preference. Anyhow, we digress. The team. There's a good friend of mine now, a guy called Mark Winterton, right? He's the area general manager of Voco Hotels, IHG brand, wonderful, wonderful hotel, of the Orchard in Singapore. Okay. 18 months ago, I did a virtual event for IHG. I do a lot of work with their hotel group. And it was a virtual event because obviously we're hitting Australia and the Asian market. So I did a celebrity service virtual conference for them all. And Mark was on the call, and he took so much from the stories and the ideas, but he ran with it, Julie. He got the baton. Sorry, too many Olympic puns here. And he ran with it. And it was only last year, the tail end of last year, I was in Singapore for a conference, and I met up with Mark. We actually put on a full day for his team. Okay, so Voco Hotel in Singapore, beautiful city, wonderful hotel, but it's a real grand old lady of a hotel, they call it. It's been there. It's not like one of the new fashionable hotels that you see on postcards, but it's this wonderful hotel. But his team, he has inspired his team in such a way that I've not seen before, if I'm honest with you. He really did take it to another level. So based on the virtual event 18 months ago, he took the baton, he bought the book, and he ran with it. So when I arrived, and I met some of the team at reception, met Mark the following morning. We're doing a full day for his team. He said, Geoff, I want to take you on a bit of a tour. I said, okay, good. Get to know the hotel. Imagine how many people in the hotel, back office, front of house, concierge, food and beverage. There's hundreds and hundreds of people. And he says, we've got to inspire them all. We've got to get them all on the same track of celebrity service, thinking differently to deliver a better experience. Because guess what? We have got newer, bigger, shinier competitors all around us now. And we've got this traditional building. Our service has got to stand out more than anybody else. And Julie, we went downstairs to the staff entrance. Okay, so the staff come inside out the back and they come in. And along the wall, which felt like half a mile long, along the wall, it's dedicated to service. So every staff member, the first thing that they see when they enter the hotel and the last thing they see when they check out is all about celebrity service. Now, on that wall, there are photographs of the staff. They have the colleagues of the month for different aspects of the hotel, but their photographs are there. They are sort of they're recommended, but also they are recognized, should I say. But on this wall, Mark and the team actually put together a full program of all of the great things that they did, all of the things that are coming up, the various points of engagement coming up with various events. We had the Formula One in Singapore literally 2 weeks after the talk that I did. So we did something special around that. But it's like a shrine to all the great things that the staff have done. So when he finds out what they've done, when a customer puts something on TripAdvisor or mentions one of their names on the comment card, he treasures this. He mounts it onto the wall for all of the team to see. So the person that has been mentioned, they now think, oh my word, that's brilliant. I've been recognized. But it also inspires the rest of the team to go, that's what it looks like. That's what it looks like. So anyhow, we did this day. I backtrack a bit. We did this day. It was wonderful. Very inspirational guy. And he sent me an email back in April. I've got it here on my. I've got it here. I'm just going to read it out to you. Hi Geoff, hope you and Hayley are well and happy belated wedding anniversary. Thought I would let you to see how Cosmo is getting on. I need to tell you who Cosmo is. So at the end of every one of my talks, I give the client a little ram. Okay, a little ram. So it's a little cuddly ram because obviously my surname. There you go. So he's called him Cosmo. So Cosmo goes all around the hotel. So I thought I'd let you know how Cosmo is getting on. He's exhausted and that's having the week of me time. He's been extremely busy with us since he joined the team back in August and has been working with each department every month where he supported new initiatives, raised awareness, shared best practices, and even met guests. Then this was the best bit of it because this links to everything that you do for your clients, Julie. Our guest love score, that's what they base their feedback on. Our guest love score is now 84 year to date, which is a whopping 14 points up on the end of the first year. And we are green for the first time ever. So green is we're just amazing. We're surpassing all of our expectations. Amber, yeah, we've got stuff to do, but we're doing really well. Red, we need to concentrate on. We have gone green for the first time ever. Now, he sent me this. But I know that he's using my message, my brand, and of course we work together. But he is setting the standard. And I'll come back to what your listeners on the podcast can do here, for anybody listening in. It's about recognizing your superstars within your organization for the little things that they do. Make sure that everybody is aware of what they do. Also promote visually what amazing looks like. Because that whole wall, which is something like, it's not half a mile long, but it was pretty long. That wall is full of celebrity service moments from the team. It's the first thing that they see, and it's the last thing that they remembered when they sort of clock off their shift. But it's something very, very special. And it's the results. it's the results based that I love. Yes, I deliver stories, I deliver ideas, I get to travel the world, I get to see some brilliant people in some amazing places. But all of a sudden, 6 months later, you get an email like that saying, we have got the greatest results we've ever had.
I know you haven't necessarily worked so much in sort of the exit and the acquisitions because you're focusing on people delivering this excellent customer service. But I think when we put it in context, when people are buying businesses, obviously they'll do their due diligence. And one of the things, people are buying the future, they're not buying the past. So obviously one of the things people will look at in DD, I suppose, is retention of customers, sort of, people leaving, people like how new customers. I suppose if you've got these types of surveys, on the acquisition journey, when you pull it as part, if you actually prepared to exit and you had an exit pack, obviously you'll have your sales in there and your list of customers and things like that. But also if you were doing these types of things, then you would have this survey on your exit pack, and if the buyer sees, oh my God, you've got a 95% customer satisfaction and every customer has returned for the last 6 years, you're probably going to get a higher valuation because they know this business is up and running. It's not just Joe Blogs down the road where everybody likes them. It's more than one person. It's become a brand. Like the brand is what the customer likes. So, and I know some of these businesses you're working with are larger businesses, but ultimately that doesn't really matter. You can still ascertain to have this great customer service because we're looking at doing, because we did the acquisition last year. So we want to do a customer survey soon. We haven't actually done one before, so we've got a task to do one before the end of the next quarter, so we can find out. Okay. And that's probably where you've got to start, is that you've got to start with initially understand what your customers currently think, to then look at your teams to look at, what can we do differently, or do we need to improve anything and things like that.
Imagine that advantage you have. You're looking to sell your business. The advantage you have, you say, rather than just say, there's our CRM system, it's got 10,000 customers on it, they tend to buy, £50 worth of materials every 2 weeks. There's their name, address, email. That's just a database. That's not a CRM system, it's a database. But imagine that you had a customer service plan. This is how we look after people. These are the 5 things that we do when they inquire. This is how we follow up. Imagine that as a plan, as a competitive advantage and somebody wanting to buy a business. Imagine having that. It's a turnkey solution. Those are the clients. That's how we look after them. This is how we engage with the staff. This is how we get our statistics up, our percentages through the roof. This is how we get better TripAdvisor scores, whatever it looks like. Imagine having that. Imagine just a 2-sheet piece of A4 paper full of top tips and a strategy. This is how we look after people. This is how we acquire clients. This is how we keep them. And this is how we get referred.
Yeah.
Wow, that's that. And at the bottom of that, because, we all like to talk about numbers sometimes and the sales and the figures, and we all like to talk about that. To talk about that 14 extra points on a hotel in a calendar year is frighteningly amazing. And that's brand new evidence, that's brand new statistics. Anybody coming in to say this is on the up, look at what they've done, it works. And I think with look, like I say, I'm not involved in the selling of the acquisitions of businesses. But the first thing I would look at is numbers. Does this work? Will this work? And how current is it? But having that, I always call them celebrity service plans, but having a customer service plan in general, my word, what a competitive advantage that is.
Yeah, we're actually just looking at we're building one at the minute with our new budget. And this is why I always say to people, so people will have a business plan and then they'll have a financial plan. And the business plan should encompass these types of things. Because in my mind, the financial plan is the how much do we charge? What do we need to make? What cash do we need to keep it ticking over? I suppose the business plan is more the how, what, and why. And then within those things, so within those things are obviously how are we going to run the business, how are we going to generate customers? And that's where the business plan. But I think, some people don't even have the basic business plans. And this is where we've got to start taking the times to work on initially getting them and then each time expanding them a bit further to look at the next thing.
Yeah. You've hit the nail on the head there. And in terms of, and it's exactly what you said there: business plan, sales plan, There might be an onboarding plan. There's plans. There's no customer service plan. That sets you apart straight away when selling that business.
So when people implement this celebrity service, do the customers ever come back and sort of speak up and say, oh my God, how has the service changed? Like, do you ever see people doing that? Like, do they get the recognition from the customers when they change it?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's the results side that I talk about. How often do you go to an estate agent or your dentist, and you'll see the thank you cards behind the desk? It's lovely, isn't it? You get some feedback of somebody appreciating. We've got it now, of course. We were tagged into LinkedIn articles, or maybe we're tagged in for the wrong reasons on Twitter. But you've got your feedback going out. You've got people talking about you, and I talk about 99.9% of the time successes, the great successes, what people have gone on to achieve, and the feedback that you have. And the feedback can be, it can be reviews, it can be those tagged in impressions, it can be just raw money, Julie. We can talk about money. It can be profits, it can be awards, great big glittering award shows. And for anybody who's interested in my material, in my stories, in learning more about celebrity service, obviously my website, geofframm.com, help yourself. But most importantly on that website, there's a page, my third page on the website, and it's called results. I actually think it's the most important page. People say, well, why is it the third page? Because clients want to see videos first. They want to know about me first. But the results page is something that I personally love. And it's that feedback that you get, but those successes that I think in terms of the work and line and sector you're in, that's again, as well as what we talked about, Mark and Voco, about the staff bringing success. What does it look like from the customers itself? If I was to go further to the east, next time we do this, we'll do some UK material, but I thought we'll go international with this one. But if you go further east, a guy called Jacob contacted me. He lives out in Melbourne. And this was actually during the lockdown years. Remember those lovely days? And I did an event for Jacob for his franchisees all over Australia. Obviously, we couldn't get to Australia, and also bringing everybody in for one, that's quite an expense. So the virtual event is what we did. And Jacob's business is mobile skips, right? So you've got rubbish in the garden, rubbish in the garage, you've got stuff to get rid of. You contact Mobile Skips, Skip Firm, and you do it online, you do it through the app, pick up the phone, and Julie's got a load of rubbish in the garden. Can you come out? Yeah, we'll drop off the skip on Monday, and we'll collect it on Thursday. And in that time when it's just there, you and your family, you're putting all that rubbish in, and then the skip gets that's it. It's not as sexy as you think, skips, but that's what it is. It takes your rubbish away. And Jacob contacted me and he said, look, I want to bring a celebrity service. I've read your books. I've seen some of your videos. Can we do something for the team? I said, yeah, of course. And I'll leave you with this one because it's not just about results, Julie, but it's about a technique in which your listeners on the podcast can tap into. So we did the virtual event, but in the middle of the virtual event, as well as me telling keynote stories and ideas, I want to get the ideas from everybody listening in. Now, if we do this at Paul's event in the future, I'll actually do this live in the room. It's something very, very special. I have something called the 120 challenge. And this is where I give, and if you imagine sort of Paul's event, you're on a table of 8 or 10 people, packed full of people. And I'll say, right, I'm going to challenge you all now to create customer experience that the world will talk about. You're going to work together as a team to come up with the ideas that would go viral. I'm going to give you all the same challenge at exactly the same time. And it's a competition. And at this stage, I have a competition. So every table in the room, if we do this at a live event, they're up against every other table. And the most creative answers will win some prizes. Dead simple. But the 120 challenge is the twist, because the 120 stands for seconds. You only have 2 minutes to come up with these ideas. Now, at this stage, Julie, everybody's like, oh, 2 minutes? That's not long enough. The other half of the room have already picked up a pen and they've already started writing, okay? So I say, right, so I give everybody the scenario. This is the challenge. This is the scenario. You have 2 minutes to come up with the ideas. Go. And the room just lifts. It's brilliant. When we get to the end of the 2 minutes, I go around the room. Everybody shouts out their ideas. We award prizes, winners. And it's at this stage when the penny drops with everybody going, oh my God. And I'll say, look what just happened in the room. Everybody here on this piece of paper in front of you, you've come up with ideas to deliver a greater experience that do not exist outside of these four walls. And you'd see the light bulbs reappear. They go, oh my God. I said, this is the power of the 2 minute challenge. So the 2 minute challenge, the 120 challenge is what I do for every client who books me for this all over the world. And it's a surefire way to get the team together, to get them focused on what creating the ideas they've never had before.
Yeah.
So that's what I do. And then we go through the results. Let's go back to Australia. So I'm live 2 a.m, and I'll say, right. So I did the first 120 challenge. I say, right, here's the challenge for everybody. You've got 2 massive touch points here, which you could do something really special with. One is the moment the skip arrives. The skip has just landed on that person's front drive. I said, that's one touch point. And I said, the other, how are you going to help them? And they kind of looked at me. They said, what do you mean? I said, well, what can you leave them that's going to help them, do a dirty job? So that was I did 2 challenges in the 120 challenge. And I said, right, you've got 2 minutes. And Jacob intervened. He said, Geoff, would you do this challenge as well? So I was like the contestant and the game show host. I was like, okay. So we set the 2 minute clock, and at 2 a.m, I was writing down some ideas. Everybody else is writing down some ideas. Gets to the 2 minutes. Honestly, Julie, the ideas that were coming out were brilliant, right? Just, we could do this. Why don't we send them that? Why don't we do this? And they came to me, they said, Geoff, what would you do if you had a franchise delivering what we do? And I said, I've got 2 ideas. I said, one, as you arrive, good chance the person is at work, they're not in. They may not be at work. So I would switch my phone on and I would do a quick video. And I would introduce myself, and this is what I would do. So I've just dumped my skip on Julie's front drive. And I would say, hi, Julie, it's Geoff here from Mobile Skips. Hope you're well. Just to let you know, the skip is here. I delivered it here. I would look forward to seeing you on a Thursday. Take care. So I would do a personalized video. I wouldn't just send an email going, we've delivered your skip. But I would do something personal. So you know the driver, you know the person. So there's a bit of connection. I said, it'll cost you nothing. We'll take you 20 seconds. That's what I would do. And they said, what's your second idea? I said, well, the idea was to help people. And I said, well, on the same video, I say, so Julie, so I'll look forward to seeing you Thursday. Oh, by the way, we've left a pair of these on your porch as well. And it's a pair and lovely yellow, thick leather pair of gloves. Okay? And there's a little note. And I said, I'll put a little note on there saying, hi, Julie, just thought I'd give you a helping hand. I know it's cheesy, for you to get rid of your rubbish in the skip. Because, and I said it needs to be a good pair of leather gloves, not something cheap and cheerful like it's ripped and thrown away after the first. They want to remember you for months and years to come. And I said, so I would go to the expense of getting leather gloves on their very first purchase of your service, send them a personalized video, you're giving them a helping hand. And those are the 2 ideas. They did other things, of course. I'll read this out.
No, it's so interesting, isn't it? And like you say, Geoff, we could go on about it all day, because I think at the end of the day, this is what makes a business, isn't it? Is in the end is, the customer retention and the sales. So, but I just want to say thanks so much, Geoff, for coming on. It's been really great having you. And I was really excited after seeing you at the Scale Up Summit to get you on. And I just want to thank all the listeners on the Build and Exit podcast. We're now I think we're nearly 7,000 views on YouTube now. We only had the YouTube channel for a few months, so it's been brilliant. And if you do like our show, hit the subscribe button so more listeners can find the channel. And I'll see you again soon.